What superstition do you believe that is true? Grandmas beware, this might make you feel a little called out. It's Em here, and let's dive into some of the internet's coolest and strangest superstitions. Story 1. Crap, I'm half Cuban, half Irish. I'm a walking superstition machine. Babies wear a gold pin with a jet bead and coral bead attached. It's called an azabache, and it both protects bad spirits from attacking your baby, as well as from the mal de ojo, evil eye. They wear it until they're 1. Divination via a spirit board, but not a Ouija board for some reason. Pendulums, dowsing rods, etc. are still used. My abuelo taught me how to make and use dowsing rods when I was a little kid. I don't exactly believe it, but dang, if I don't pay a little more attention to crap. If you see a white horse, you lick your thumb, press it into the palm of your other hand, and then punch it, they're bad luck. If you're holding hands with someone while walking and you have to let go because there's a power pull or something, you both have to say bread and butter to stop fate from separating you. Conversely, if you make a couple let go of each other's hands to let you pass between them, you'll be cursed with ill luck in love for a whole year. If you spill salt while cooking, you have to take a pinch and toss it over your left shoulder, because the devil is looking over your shoulder and you just punked that bee in the eye. Painting or putting a decorative door against a surface lets fairies come through. They do sell fairy doors as decoration based on the superstition. Putting a glass bottle in your flower garden will attract fairies to live there. You leave a little cup of milk and a crust of bread on your windowsill overnight to feed the fairies. It makes them nicer. When your cat suddenly stares at some crap that isn't there and then goes ape, chasing it all over the house, it's chasing a fairy to eat it. If you don't want fairies, you buy a cat. You have to have beans with bacon and fresh grapes at New Year's. You eat the grapes through the afternoon, starting by eating 1 at 1 p.m. and ending by eating 12 at midnight. Beans with bacon are eaten at dinner. Both are good luck and prosperity in the coming year. A besom broom, traditional old-style broom made of twigs. I bought mine from Trader Joe's during the first week of December. It smells like cinnamon and your whole house smells amazing. Is hung over the main door into the house. On New Year's Day, you sweep each doorway in the house, ending with the main doorway using the broom. Then you huck it in the fireplace or use it in a bonfire. And your whole house smells like cinnamon. You can always make a besom yourself and scent it with essential oils yourself, if you lack a Trader Joe's or cinnamon isn't your bag. There are also websites that sell scented besoms. A ring of mushrooms is a fairy ring. Don't frickin' walk into it unless you want to have to deal with some mega BS that will drive you crazy. A trail of mushrooms in a long line is a fairy path. Don't step on it unless you want to deal with some mega BS. Well, that was certainly a lot at once. There were a few I knew, like the splitting up the couples. I've always heard it best to try and walk around the pole together, but I hadn't heard of saying bread and butter. The one that honestly really confused me was the horse one. Maybe I'm misinterpreting OP's words, but to me it sounds like they're saying you have to punch the horse. If anyone knows about this one, please do tell me if I'm wrong. Otherwise, I'm a little concerned for white horses out there right now. Story 2. That bad crap happens after 3 a.m. I used to take long walks at night that lasted till morning, except when this crap happens. Example, out walking down the street at 3 a.m. when I hear this soft tapping coming up behind me. I turn around to see a Joey, baby kangaroo, jumping down the street and past me, without even looking at me or nothing. I saw no other kangaroos around. Next, I was chilling at a playground when all of a sudden I heard a cat screeching from a few houses away. I heard the sounds of the cat screeching and moving all the way up the street. Then it suddenly stopped. I went home that night, or morning. Next, I was chilling at the same spot. Now, this spot is surrounded by 4 houses. 3 of them have dogs. So if you make a sudden, loud sound, it would alarm one dog. Then the barking would wake and alarm the second one, and so on. But on this night at 3 a.m., all 3 dogs went ape crap at the exact same time, for about 10 minutes straight. Then all stopped at once. Crap was crazy. I've also had sudden thunderstorms happen at exactly 3 a.m. I'm not in any way a superstitious person, but too many of these things happen at exactly 3 a.m. for it to creep me out. Too long, didn't read. Weird crap happens at 3 a.m. I think out of all the stories I'll read today, this is the one I agree with the absolute most. I hate staying up past that time because I'm always so scared of everything I hear. Like noise at 2:59, who cares? 3 a.m., I'm terrified. Story 3. 2 unusual ones that may just apply to me. Number 1, the date August 16th is extremely unlucky. For several years in a row, a relative or a pet died on that date. Got in my only car accident to date on August 16th. albeit a minor fender bender. I try not to have anything important scheduled on that day. Edit, this is also the date death for Elvis Presley, the king of rock, and Babe Ruth, the king of baseball. Number 2, if I begin dating someone new, I don't enter their number into my phone. In the past, every time I felt it was safe to save her number, she would unexpectedly break it off. Now I'm engaged, and I still don't have her number saved. The added bonus, I had to memorize it. And now if I lose my phone or it dies, I'll still be able to call her. Someone commented, I usually get pulled over on my birthday every year. 3 years running, and I refuse to drive that day now. After hearing that OP always loses someone on that day, it makes me think that maybe they're actually related to Elvis and Babe Ruth. But that second one was kind of sweet to me, except it must be hard to find their contact very quick. I do think if someone did that to me, though, I'd probably be a little annoyed that they don't trust me enough to save my contact. Story 4. I once made up my own superstition. I told a woman if you make a wish at the exact moment you give somebody else an O word, the energy added to the universe makes that wish come true. She went down on me and wished to win some money just as I reached completion. A few days later, she actually did win a couple thousand at a casino. That was the only time her wish came true, but it took her a long time to figure out that it wasn't working anymore. Somebody commented, adult magic. The reason it worked for the first time is because there was no resistance from her. The other time, she was attaching too much focus and expectation on what she wanted. So it didn't come to pass. This is legit the easiest way to explain it. Story 5. That death comes in threes. It seems to be the case in my life anyway. If I've had 2 people in my life recently pass away, I get anxious about who the third will be. Then I feel relieved if it's a distant relative or vague acquaintance instead of someone closer. Somebody commented, same. Earlier this year, a girl I went to high school with died in a car accident. A month later, a guy I went to another school with died of a drug overdose. A month after that, a really close coworker died of a heart attack. He wasn't even 20. For me, every time it happens, the third is generally the one out of the 3 I'm closest to. Oh geez. I just got the news this year alone that 3 of my friends and family had passed. Granted, the 2 were distant friends, but losing my grandfather was the last person, and certainly hit the hardest. Needless to say, maybe this one has a little bit of merit to it. Story 6. Working in a psychiatric clinic. My coworker will literally murder you if you dare to say the name of a patient that is usually regular here, but not there at the moment. An innocent question a la, hey, it is cool that Mr. XY is not here anymore. How's he doing? Works like a charm, and it ought to happen this exact patient will come to the clinic's door within the next few minutes, probably handcuffed and worse than ever. Somebody commented, it's the same at my clinic. I'll randomly think about a patient who hasn't been in for a while and one that is usually on the annoying or needy side, and boom, they walk in or call to make an appointment. Story 7. I joke most of the time, but I swear, every time we have a full moon, the children at our daycare or preschool go bonkers. I mean, it's all confirmation bias, but sometimes I can't help but wonder if it's true, because I have one child that is so sweet and nice, and turns into this tantrum-throwing hitter and biter every full moon. Somebody commented, knowing it's a full moon could change your behavior in a way that influences the kids. You need a double-blind study. Maybe try a couple months of not knowing the moon cycle, but writing down a little blurb each day on how the kids acted. Then go back and match up the moon cycle in retrospect. Oh, yeah, my mom is the exact same way. She fully will blame her mood swings on the moon if she happens to see it's full. It can be very annoying, but I've learned it's best to just also use it as an excuse if I get in trouble for something. Because if she can use it, why can't I? Story 8. I actually have a really screwed up one for this. I can't name a child Joe. Apparently there's a curse on the name Joe in my family. I asked my mom about it. She's generally not a superstitious lady, and she said, yeah, every Joe on your father's side has died young and tragically. So I asked around a bit, and apparently there were 4 attempts at Joes, and they either weren't carried to term, suffered SIDs, or died in a ranch accident. Needless to say, I love the name, but no way in heck am I going to name a future kid or even a future pet Joe. Story 9. The fairies in the wood. Anytime you say something predictive, the fairies who live in the wood will go out and find ways to make you wrong. I was sitting at work, a restaurant, one day twiddling my thumbs, and I remarked to a coworker that in the 4 years I'd been there, we'd never been that dead. 2 minutes later, 2 full buses came around the corner, and we had just short of 80 people being taken care of by one server, one host, one manager, and one cook. Always knock on the wood, it's dazzling those frickin' fairies. I've never heard anyone blame this kind of stuff on fairies from the woods. I always just choose to believe it was the universe wanting to laugh at me for being stupid. Story 10. I'm pretty convinced about the chupacabra. I once went on a mission trip near the Mexican border, and there was a stray dog that we started calling Chupacabra. The Mexican guys working with us got so freaked out they stopped working, and the local church pastor had to come tell us to shut up. It was pretty eerie seeing those grown men that freaked out. Somebody commented, "Yeah, you don't crack jokes about crap like Chupacabra or La Llorona in Mexico." It's like going onto an Arizona reservation and talking really loud about skinwalkers and the Wendigo. Story 11. For a while, I believed that if I wore anything with my team's badge on it while they play, they wouldn't win. A series of coincidences reinforce this belief, which is of course nonsense. But could you afford to take a chance when you're playing your rivals? Someone commented, "Every time my partner went to a game, my team would lose. One sport she's been to a single game. It was the only game my team lost that year. This went on for 3 years. She finally attended a win this year. I feel bad for the girlfriend because I'm sure she felt like crap these last couple of years, always thinking that she's a bad luck charm. I hope OP never told her this though, because I feel like that would definitely cause some resentment." Story 12. When watching sports, if my team scores or wins, I try to replicate everything. My seating arrangement to some of the things I did during the day. This is usually only during the playoffs. Somebody commented, "I once watched a game where my team scored every time I entered the room after a commercial break. I thought it might have been a funny coincidence after the second time, so I decided to try again, and it somehow worked." Story 13. Those owls announced the death of one you know. It happened to my grandmother. She was dead in the next 4 hours. One of the cool neighbors, dead the next day. Just the previous week, the guy about 4 houses away, dead in the same night. I didn't believe it at first, but now I'm starting to get spooked every time I hear owls. Someone commented, "You realize you don't have to kill every time you hear an owl." Story 14. I work in IT. On call or not, if you even think about a problem occurring, it will happen and you will be called. Last week I took vacation and drove 10 hours to North Carolina. Got there, sat down in my friend's apartment, and he asked, "Hey, are you on call for work right now?" "No," I responded. And that very second, my boss texted me saying they need me to work to resolve some issue. Frick IT. Look, man, if you weren't on call, I'd ask for double pay or overtime. Because why can't someone else who is on call help deal with it? That'll teach them to keep bothering people on their vacations. Story 15. Every time you marvel at your good luck, it will turn bad. It just will. Worse is if you say this out loud. You're done for. Knocking on wood. I always do this. Somebody commented, "Yup, I think I'm doing okay in life." Then suddenly I go frick up something by making a bad decision. So I guess all I have to do is stay miserable and maybe my life will stay mediocre, but not completely freaked. Story 16. PCs can be cursed. My coworker also believes this. Some PCs are just plain bad luck since coming from the manufacturer. Coworker. Her Office 2016 is broken. What's her PC's name? I point to her PC name on my screen. Coworker sighs. It had to be that one. Someone commented, that might actually be true. A CPU could have a manufacturing error small enough to pass QC, but enough that it sometimes fails in undiagnosable ways. Story 17. There is a portal to another dimension that will open randomly and devour items. The catch? Only happens to things this size of a pen and smaller. I cannot tell you how many pens I've dropped on flat, open floors, only to have them poof out of existence. Somebody commented, there is a special one where all guitar picks go. Then they are transported to the most random place available. That and socks. I've lost so many socks to this magical portal. I hope whoever is hoarding them all right now is happy watching me run around my room yelling and searching everywhere. Story 18. USB plugs are in a state of superposition until you try to put it in a port without checking which way it is. At which point, it points the wrong way. Someone commented, but then the other way is still the wrong way. Then you think you're going back to the first way and it works. But it isn't really the first way. It's a rotation along the 5th dimension. Story 19. I played baseball from 1st grade all through high school for various teams. Each game day morning, the team would get together and say, we're gonna lose. We lost a collective 6 games. Nowadays, if I have a job interview or something else I don't want to frick up, I tell myself that I will, in fact, frick it up. Still pulling around a 95 success rate. Story 20. I swear to God, I experienced rather severe, about 120 beats per minute, tachycardia, for hours each time there's a solar flare. And I'm a 22-year-old guy. I know there's no causal mechanism to explain this. And I am not an anxious guy, so I don't experience it solely because I know there is a solar flare. But I still do. This sounds really similar to the people who have an injury and can swear they know it's gonna rain. Not like in Mean Girls where she can grab her chest, but a lot of people will believe that their flare-ups in the injury spot means it's gonna rain that day. Story 21. My mother will only call when it is the absolute most inconvenient time possible. If you're splitting the atom with your right hand and curing cancer with your left, while looking for your car keys because you're late for a meeting with a governor, and the cell phone at the bottom of your purse that you can't find rings, it's my mother. Story 22. When you work in food service and it's slow, so you decide to make yourself something to eat. As soon as you finish making it, you will get a huge rush and won't be able to eat until your sandwich, burrito, whatever is cold. Someone commented, it's a curse. Or if you say or think, man, we're slow tonight, there will be a rush. Story 23. As a baseball player, superstitions basically run the game of baseball. Any of your typical walking under a ladder or opening an umbrella inside are big no-nos. However, more specific for baseball players are not letting other people use your bat, eating a certain flavor of seeds, waking up at the same time each day. The list goes on and on. Baseball sounds like an exhausting job, and I'm not just talking about the physical aspect. Keeping track of all these superstitions sounds just so tiring, and I'm sure I'd probably break some of them within my first day. Story 24. Never close a knife that has been opened by someone else. Either give back open if it was given to you, open or close if you opened it. Someone commented, usually because their knife has an unnecessarily complicated mechanism that will frickin' slice you open when you're trying to figure out how to close it. Story 25. That fairies and pixies exist. My Irish grandparents believed in them totally, to a degree that makes me think there had to be something to it. I know it sounds nuts, but hey, 100 years ago, atoms and molecules were fanciful notions. Somebody commented, potatoes are a heck of a drug. Story 26. I have no proof, but I'm pretty sure the universe or some omnipotent being hates me and wants to watch me crash and burn. Because every single time things start to go right for me, something worse happens without fail. It freaking sucks. The better it gets for me, the worse the thing is. I'm really sorry, OP. I'm sure a lot of people feel that way. What I would tell you is sometimes we like to blame the universe for problems that truly are our own creation. Next time something happens, think about if this really was the universe, or something you laid the groundwork down for months ago that's coming back now. Story 27. Don't talk about money in front of the appliances. They are listening. And one will break down as soon as it hears the word bonus. Somebody commented, similarly, never criticize your car or discuss buying a new car anywhere near that your current car can hear you. It'll be sure to break in an expensive fashion. Story 28. If you live in an area that gets a lot of snow and don't want a lot of snow in one season, just go out and buy a snowblower. Without fail, every neighbor of mine who buys a snowblower never gets to use it for their first season having it. Story 29. Things are harder to find when you are looking for them. For example, I have a box of assorted cutlery, and in that box there are teaspoons with short handles and teaspoons with long handles, in about equal quantities. When I want one, I can only find the other. This one I fully believe. I always feel like the second I put something down and need it, it turns out I put it in the wrong spot and now I'm left scavenging for it like a caveman. The only plausible explanation for this is that little magic portal that transports them somewhere else. Story 30. I always check the shower before pooping just in case someone is waiting there to murder me. Also, my great-grandmother believed that if she ran up and down her hall before she slept, she wouldn't die in her sleep. She did it for the rest of her life. Story 31. Thespian superstition says Macbeth is a curse play. Saying its name inside the theater will bring tragedy, unless you immediately go outside, spin around 3 times, spit, and shout a curse word. Putting on the play is also a lightning rod for bad luck. So the superstition started because someone actually died during one of the original productions of Macbeth, so a lot of people now believe that the play and word itself is haunted. Every theater has a bit of a different ritual depending on where you go. Like, mine required us to run around the theater 3 times instead of spinning. And I hate to say this, but I kind of believe in this one. My friend once said it and proceeded to pass out on stage during the big final number. Story 32. Nothing pink on my boat, and if it is pink, I use rubber worms for bass fishing in that color. then it must be referred to as bubblegum. Also, no bananas. These are old sailor superstitions, but still, they stay off my boat. Story 33. Whenever you absolutely need to read something important while driving but decide to do the responsible thing and only look while you're stopped at the next red light, you will get nothing but green lights all the way to your destination. Story 34. Nothing goes right when somebody is watching. Examples, seeing something amazing or performing something and saying to someone, "Come look at this," and by the time they get there, the thing is gone. Or you can no longer do it. Or doing something great until they come watch and all of a sudden you're like a toddler, just trying to figure out how to walk. Story 35. Replace a part in a computer and put the case on before testing, and you'll increase your chances of the fix not working. Test with the case still open, and you'll have a higher chance of fixing the problem. Story 36. I play D&D and I need to roll all my d20s until I get a 20 on all of them before I start playing. If I don't roll them first, then how do I know that they work properly? Story 37. This is a weird superstition that my family believes in, but basically, if you sleep with wet hair, then you'll get bad eyesight. To this day, I always make sure my hair is dry before sleeping or taking a nap. Hey, maybe this explains why my eyesight is so poor. I always thought it was early onset cataracts, but I'll make sure to tell my eye doctor this the next time I see him. Story 38. Me. Oh look, all the 18-wheelers are staying in the right lane. Might actually make it in good time. 18-wheelers everywhere. Changes to the left lane for the next 20 miles. Me. Story 39. Streamer loot. If you stream PUBG, you always get mad loot. If you don't, you end up with a crowbar and 7 different attachments for an AR you don't have. Story 40. A black cat crossing your path is bad luck. In my house, it meant they'd literally get under your feet and attempt to trip you up until you fed them. I truly hate the superstition because a lot of people will take out their anger and hurt black cats, all because of a dumb superstition. Like, those cats didn't do anything, and I've had plenty of them be absolute sweethearts. Story 41. If you pack a bit more than you think you'll need for a trip, you won't use half of it. If you pack a bit less because you never use it all, you will have a need for more than you packed with you. Story 42. One superstition that most people seem to have is the idea that you can feel someone looking at you. There is no scientific basis for that belief, it's just superstition. Story 43. When you can't find parking and finally reluctantly park 2 blocks away, a parking spot much closer will appear as you walk to your destination. I've mentioned this before, but I live in a major city. The rule of thumb we've adopted with parking is we can't complain about a better spot. We just accept that at least we found something. Story 44. That when older women dream of fish, someone in the family or close to the family is pregnant. My grandmother hasn't been wrong yet. Story 45. Working in healthcare, the full moon brings the crazies and the babies. Also saying it's a quiet night will most definitely get you death stares. Story 46. Beginner's luck is almost certainly a thing among gamblers. The people who aren't lucky early on probably don't keep gambling. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.